Surprise, surprise, everybody! It's September, and it seems like there's gonna be a September Direct. I'm not sure that's ever happened before in the history of man. So why are we saying this, Derek? Why do we think there's gonna be a September Direct?
Well, it turns out we have a leak of the more credible variety because it comes directly from a game developer. Not a huge game developer, and more of a comedian, because it turns out there's a series of games from a Japanese comedian and game creator known as Nodage. And he tweeted out not too long ago that the new Nodage will be announced next week. It will probably be on Thursday the 14th. Please wait and guess what the Super Nodage it was very surprising. I don't know if we'll get all of it all at once, or we just get one or two here and there. I'm honestly not sure of that one. I don't see Layton as a 2023
I don't think
game.
it's this year, but I think they can show it if it's going to be at TGS.
Yeah. Decapolice.
That might be this year. I think that might be this year.
That could be this year. That could definitely be this year. Fantasy Life, I'm also going to say next year. I say Decapolice is probably the one closest to release.
Fantasy Life feels like a January game.
Kind of perfect for that, although the January's already looking pretty stacked, so who knows? Everything's looking stacked at the moment, so it's hard to say. But I didn't think about that. I honestly kind of forgot about Layton and the fact that it was going to appear at TGS, but that makes a lot of sense. I like that prediction.
Yeah. I think this is just kind of the time for a lot of Japanese stuff, which brings me to another game that's been eluding us for a while. Where the heck is Dragon Quest III HD 2D? Are we going to see it here?
I have no idea. I actually have a whole Dragon Quest section because we have Infinity Strash Adventures of Dai. That's coming out pretty soon. We have Dragon Quest Monsters in December.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
So we have those two Dragon Quest games that were announced far after 3 HD 2D. We have no idea when that's coming. And the thing is, I think it's still a next year game. We might see it, but I think it's not this year. I think it's going to be next year and just sort of have it come out. And I almost wonder, or maybe no, it's not wonder, it's a hope. Maybe they'll decide to release Dragon Quest 4 through 6 on Switch.
That'd be incredible. So, Team Asano last year, they did Triangle Strategy and Live Alive in the same year. This year we've had Octopath 2. They're a very capable studio. I think they have it in them to do 2 games a year. I hope Dragon Quest 3 shows up, but if not, I guess let it cook. We've already had Suikoden delayed until next year. That's fine. No one has time for all these games anyway to delay it. But yeah, I kind of did expect before that delay announcement Suikoden would show up here. It's not, that's fine. But we do also have a few other games coming up as well before we get into just brand new predictions. The Metal Gear Solid Collection was announced at the previous Direct. I don't think there's much more to announce about that, really.
Unless they have another game, which I don't think they do. I think we already have our lineup set. It's all pretty set in stone. I can't see them focusing too much time on that one.
About the technical specs of the Switch version. But this isn't really the venue for that.
No.
But
speaking of Konami, though, we do have very soon Bomberman R2.
Of course, yeah, I forgot all about that. Yeah.
They haven't talked about that game at all. Like it's kind of fallen out of the public consciousness because we don't know. They haven't said anything about it. So
yeah,
why not like have our special Bomberman back? Here's like different snakes from across the collection in Bomberman R2. Why not?
Because I guess the core hook of this one is that it kind of brings back a game that's not really a selling point to bring back a game that was kind of free. So they do need to differentiate this one a lot, and I hope that there's just...
The original had a bunch of that as free stuff, and then the free version expanded upon that quite a bit. I can see them just continuing that on because it's just an easy crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
That really does, and it has that way of like drawing people into it because... Bomberman R1 was a lot of fun. It was a nice return to form for Bomberman series, and I get the feeling R2 is going to get overshadowed. It's September. There's a lot of big games coming out in September, but I feel like it still should have some sort of spot in the Direct.
Yeah, R1 on PS4 had Ratchet and Clank and a Peepo Monkey, and on Xbox had Master Chief and the Arbiter, and I think a Grunt from Halo. So maybe this is the time Nintendo gets a crossover character in there, because they got Bomberman R exclusive for like a year or two, but then didn't get a character. So maybe this is the time. Maybe R2 is when we get, I don't know, a Guardian or something stupid.
Inkling, or hey,
Inkling.
Link, because he puts down bombs.
Yeah, I'm for that, yeah. I think Splatoon 3 is just a lock. It's definitely time to see that DLC. And I hope that it's very, very ambitious. Because Octo Expansion it was a big tone departure from the main it's going to be. But that'll probably be done further via a Splatfest, but there probably will be some kind of, just nuggets of lore for what the next entry is going to be.
Potentially, because this one's sort of an alternate look about what would have happened if Order had won.
Yeah.
And so it's almost more of a side story. I can see lore definitely popping up, but as far as it continuing what the series might be about in the future, that one's hard to say. I do have a prediction, though, for when it's releasing.
Okay.
Speaking of that, because, hey, we have the Deep Cut Amiibo coming. They're coming on November 17th.
Oh.
Man, it sure would be a good idea to have a DLC to come out with them. So I'm saying November 17th or around there for the side order.
That makes
game.
too much sense. Yeah. We also have a Noah and Mio amiibo coming up. And I've been holding on hope that they'll release Future Redeemed in a physical box, because Torna did. So maybe a physical could come the same day as those amiibo. I hope so.
What do they do with those amiibo? That's the big question, because I've
Smash.
Finally finished.
Surprise drop. Mio and Noah and Mio in Smash.
I'd love it, but it's not going to happen.
No, they've brought the
So
team
be
back
about
for this
that.
one character. Or two characters.
Yeah. I wish. But yeah, we already have their weapons, which is typically what the amiibo do in Xenoblade 3. So what do they do other than just, hey, I got Noah and Mio figures now, which I'm all about. So
Yeah. I literally have no idea what they could do. But something I do know, though, is Fantasian. We predicted this in our last pre-direct predictions, that Fantasian would come to Switch. We were wrong in time. It seems like it might now, though, because there has been a Steam listing. The Steam database has Fantasian on there now. And for those who don't remember, that was an Apple Arcade exclusive for a long time, and it comes from the creator of Final Fantasy, who went on to do the last story. And it looks absolutely outstanding. And it seems like it's
the
time.
one where they built models and then
Yes.
overlaid the characters on top of the models. Like it's like real objects in there. It looks incredible.
It does.
I'd love to play it.
Yeah, and I have no Apple device, I have no means to play this game, and even if I did, I don't typically play games on phones. I'd love just to finally play this, and it does feel like it probably will be here.
I didn't think about it, but man, I want it. I want it so bad. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
I would love to see that pop up here. Speaking, I think there's much more to say about it, but I think it's still worth talking about, and that's the Baten Kaitos remasters.
Yeah.
We got 1 and 2 coming. It's this month. Not really been a lot of buzz about it, despite being the pedigree of Monolith Soft, but Baten Kaitos has always been a bit of a hard sell, considering its systems and whatnot. People who love it, but it's I remember playing the original. It would make me interested.
I mean, that's kind of the thing. Like, it was a Monolith Soft legacy title. It should have excitement, but people generally just aren't. I think it needs that hook. It needs just some sort of tie to Xenoblade in some way to get Nintendo fans excited. Maybe that's what you do.
I mean, it's not the first time RPGs or re-releases of RPGs have used newer characters to entice people to play the older games. Look at Tokyo Mirage Sessions and the Joker costume. So give them at least a costume as Noah and Mio for the main characters. Why not?
Yeah. I have quite a big question for you now, Derek. So there has been a theme recently with Nintendo's releases, especially in Directs, where they've been shadow dropping GameCube remasters. So we started with Metroid Prime, then we got Pikmin 1 and 2 together right after that Direct. What do you think's next? Because they've got that emulator that they built for Mario All-Stars, 3D All-Stars for Sunshine. They used it again for Pikmin. Prime was a full-on remaster. But it just seems like an easy release padding. And I don't think they're going to stop. So what is next? Wii is also, I guess, kind of included on there. Because they use that for Mario Galaxy and 3D All-Stars.
Yeah.
But I think GameCube's probably their focus.
Yeah, that makes sense. I had Metroid Prime 2 remaster in here because I'm going to say right now, I don't think we're going to see 4.
Okay.
I don't think 4 is going to pop up. I think this is a perfect opportunity to just stagger out releases of the old Prime games to primer people for Prime 4. So I think right around now, perfect time to put out Metroid Prime 2. Most people have played Prime 1. It's been out for a while. It's got its sales. Get Prime 2 in there to keep people excited. And then February next year, around the same time when Prime 1 came out, put out Prime 3, and then summer or fall for next year, then you have your Prime 4. I think
makes sense.
That makes the most sense to me. So I'm going to say Prime 2 remaster. I don't know if it'll get the full remaster treatment like Prime 1 did, because it's just not as popular of a game. Never got quite those sales, but it could also fix up some of the issues of Prime 2. So hard to say on that one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not sure which GameCube title they would pick. One would hope for Paper Mario, but I don't think that'll happen with Mario RPG coming.
It's tricky, yeah. I feel like F-Zero GX is actually quite likely.
I thought about that one, but like, would they do it? Would they throw F-Zero fans a bone? And I'm like, no.
Just out of spite, yeah. Just a simple Pikmin tier 1080p remaster, not really touching anything up, but having online play. I think that is more than enough to satisfy people. It does then set the precedent of, is this an ongoing franchise now? Like, do we just do this one-off? Because I feel like once you put a remaster out there, there's kind of an expectation of what's next, what comes after this. So I think that's the only barrier stopping GX from being remastered. But I don't know. I just kind of feel like it's time for F-Zero to make its comeback.
It makes a certain amount of sense, but I don't know. They've been dragging F-Zero fans for a while, so I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of other big GameCube releases.
Focusing back on Metroid Prime a moment.
Oh, sure.
So Pikmin 1 and 2 were done together. There have been rumors that Metroid Prime 2 is not a full-on remaster like the first Prime was. And if that is the case, do you still release it independently, or do you bundle it with 3? Because 3 would kind of need some work.
Yeah, 3 needs definitely the most work because it was so motion control based. And I mean, granted, they found ways to around that with motion controls, non-motion controls for Prime 1, but there's never been non-motion controls for Prime 3, and there's a lot of like motion stuff in there for doors.
Like this morning, I was playing Sonic Free Riders patched to not have Kinect anymore. So like it's definitely possible to get motion-heavy games on a controller. But it would need some work. But I kind of feel like if they're just going to do, not redoing all the textures, all the lighting, all the models, just taking the same thing but up-resing it, they probably could just bundle them together, just 2 and 3.
That would be cool. And do you know, this is a long shot. Like, I do not expect this to happen whatsoever, but it is September. Could work. Hard to say. Does Nintendo own the rights to Eternal Darkness?
I believe they have kept that trademark going. The spirit is in Smash. I'm pretty sure they still own it, yeah.
Then why not that? Like, tie into Halloween and all that. But I know they have a lot of other October, like they got Mario coming in October, but that's hitting a very different fan base. Your Mario fan base and your Eternal Darkness fan base are very different. But October is also very packed, so it's hard to say. But releasing it now, having it ready for October, Shadow Drop.
It would be very cool. I think the one thing that would make Eternal Darkness not as exciting on Switch is some of the sanity effects don't really work in the modern day. Like having like that sort of CRT volume slider or the static and things. It would be so cool if they just sort of reimagine some of them as well. Like, they do just pretty much a straight port, but new modern sanity effects, like your Joy-Con is drifting, or I don't know, or your Switch battery runs out or something.
Or somehow it knows what's on your Switch, and it goes to the main menu and starts sliding down this to demonstrate the drift or something like that. It's like, what the heck?
Or like stuff like it pretends to take it like a video or something. Like, I didn't press the video button. Like, stuff like that. Like, there's cool gimmicks you could do with the Switch.
Oh man, that'd be cool if it like it has a little indicator at the top, like second clip, the 30-second clip recorded, and it automatically opens it for you. Like, what the heck? And then it shows like your character dying in that 30 seconds.
That'd be cool. Yeah. we should need a new Eternal Darkness game by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
Well,
Different developers, but
yeah.
new Eternal Darkness.
The two obvious ones are Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD, two games that are already remastered, already 1080p. They wouldn't need a lot of work. It's just a question of, do they want Tears of the Kingdom to have its single Zelda shelf space for this holiday, or are they willing to share it with some remasters?
That's hard to tell. I'm gonna say that probably one of it is it's single. A single idea right now. I think no real competition for that, because Zelda didn't even cross my mind. I mean, we just found out that no DLC is planned for Tears of the Kingdom, which I don't really blame them. That's a huge game.
Yeah. I imagine if these remasters do happen, they'll be done by Tantalus rather than Nintendo. They did Twilight Princess HD, Skyward Sword HD. I imagine they would port Wind Waker and Twilight Princess if it came down to it. But yeah, it's weird to say, like, we're coming on like 7 years in. I still feel like it's not time for these games. maybe early next year, maybe like January, but I think they want that Tears of the Kingdom domination.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. They want that there and just enjoy.
Yeah. You touched on Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. Also, very likely, you also mentioned Mario RPG could, come counter to that. Here's the question: Do you port Thousand Year Door, or do you remake it to look like Origami King?
That's a tough one. It depends on how much they want to invest in it. If they don't have that much faith, then they probably just do a straight port. If they feel like it has that legacy, like Prime, which I think it does, I think they would get a remaster version. That I don't know if it would get the same graphics as Origami King, but definitely just give that sheen that Prime remaster got.
Yeah. We've talked about this before, but we're like 3 years from the last Paper Mario. So it's definitely in their schedule to have a new one around now. It's just whether they want to compete with Mario RPG. And if they want to go the route of saying Paper Mario is not an RPG, they could just do a new one and go even further away from the combat system, to everyone's dismay. But speaking of Mario RPG, I do think that there's going to be a modern Final Fantasy element in there. What if Clive is in, like, somehow in Mario RPG or something?
So something in addition to Kulex?
Yeah. I think there's going to be no more than just the raw Mario RPG, game from the 90s.
I wonder what they would choose for that, because the obvious one would be like Sephiroth or Fighting Cloud or something like that. But
Sephiroth probably is the obvious one. Yeah.
Yeah. Sephiroth is definitely the obvious one as far as that's concerned. But it's
just stabbing
really
Chibi Mario.
Oh, God. Yeah, that makes sense. I do feel like Mario RPG is going to get a little bit of a highlight this time around, show off a little bit more, because we know it's coming, but we don't have any, like, if there's any new features or things like that. I don't think there's that much more to show, but I do think it'll make an appearance. Same way with WarioWare Move It.
Right.
Like, that's coming out relatively soon, and outside of its reveal, we got nothing.
We don't know who's making Mario RPG. They don't usually announce this stuff in the Direct, but I imagine it's Square. And they tend to do, like, fast-forward functions. They tend to let you turn off random encounters. They tend to let you, like, go up to, like, level 99 if you want to. Is that stuff going to be in there? Or is this... Would Nintendo be like, no, don't do that for a full-on game?
I feel like there will be options to make it easier for newcomers, because that's the whole idea behind Mario RPGs, is make it easier for newcomers, but it's already easy on the easy side, so I'm not sure it needs that much. My best guess is, I mean, you want an easy grind button, hit a button, Mario has the superstar. He can just run through enemies. Can't do it against bosses, but he can grind against enemies just by using the superstar and running through everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. Here's something for Daniel Alba. So we know that Fire Emblem Echoes, well, not Echoes, Fire Emblem Engage was finished in like 2021 according to the PEGI ratings. And it seems like they've been sitting on that game for a long time, probably polishing it a little bit. But it wouldn't be unheard of for another Fire Emblem to come out really, really soon. And they rushed through the DLC so strangely.
Yeah.
I think they said they were going to release it all by the end of the year, and they did it all in like a month. So were they freeing up time for another Fire Emblem?
In some ways it would make sense, but it feels like such a packed schedule, because I went through and like I feel like there's not a lot of room for other things when you already have Detective Pikachu, Mario Wonder, Mario RPG, like those are some of the big titles that people will pick up. Maybe not as much Detective Pikachu, but still, you got your Mario games in there. And yeah, it's good to have those alternatives, but will people pick them up when there's already Mario? That's always the question.
Yeah, there's always a chance for like January or February announcements. February would be a nice one for Fire Emblem.
February typically does pretty well for Fire Emblem.
Yeah. And Genealogy of the Holy War seems like the prime candidate if they do another Echoes. And I loved Shadows of Valentia. I hope that they just sort of keep that same. Echoes sub-series going.
Oh, I'd love if they did that. That'd be wonderful. Would love to see it. Don't know if it's going to happen. That's the tricky part of there. It would definitely be a 2024 game for sure.
Okay.
For sure. I'll put another one out there since I mentioned Mario. I think we're going to get a Mario Party 3 release date for the NSL because we just got we just got the Excite Bike out of nowhere. We just got 4 new games out of nowhere for the NSL. Why not keep it up and actually show release dates for those? Because there's still a bunch of NSGO games that they've announced that have not arrived yet. The Golden Sun games, Mario Party, of course, 1080 snowboarding.
Those were they announced in the previous September Direct?
Either that or December. I can't remember which.
I think it might have been September. I think we're coming on a year since those were all announced.
I think you're right. So yeah, I think it's about time to have a new lineup of N64 games because they have not gotten a lot of support. Yeah,
we're talking Donkey Kong 64, Diddy Kong Racing, Super Smash Bros. 64, Banjo-Tooie, Rayman 2, Resident Evil 2. Why not? We've got a pretty good selection of 64 games, but there's definitely still some gaps in there. Are there like big Nintendo first-party ones that we're missing? There must be some.
Probably, but I'm blanking. It's not a first party, but Mischief Makers. Put Mischief Makers on there.
Yeah, and for like Japan, Animal Crossing would be great, just like historically.
Yeah.
But yeah, GBA, we've barely scratched the surface. There's so much GBA you can do. And they've just they've made the precedent of putting a licensed game on Game Boy as well. It was a movie tie-in. What was it called?
Quest for Camelot.
Yeah, I don't remember this movie. I was like, what is this game? And saw it got like a 4 out of 10 from IGN back in the 90s, and it was a movie by Warner Brothers.
It's not a great movie.
But yeah, more NSO games definitely. They usually do Neo Geo. TurboGrafx around this sort of time. Like Wii U got TurboGrafx in like 2016, like it's last year. I don't know if they'll do it again, but is it time for Bonk?
Could Bonk return?
Could Bonk return?
Get his revenge.
Yeah. Maybe.
I don't know. It makes a certain amount of sense, especially because you already have those ROMs, especially from the TurboGrafx Mini. So you already have a lineup of titles that you can put on there and people enjoy.
Right. Yeah.
Have we gotten the Metal Slug games on Switch before? Because we've got Tactics coming out, and it makes sense to have.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there are some Neo Geo Metal Slugs on there. But speaking of mini systems, they took a lot of NSO's Mega Drive lineup from the original Mini, but there was a second Mini with Sega CD games. So I do wonder if they'll put Sega CD on Genesis NSO.
That'd be cool. It'd be wild if like, oh no, here we go, have some 32X games, and that's how we get Knuckles Chaotix.
Yeah, the first ever re-release. That'd be so cool. Yeah.
That'd be wild.
Well,
it's a difficult. We'll see from NSO. Yeah.
It's all very difficult to predict because the lineup is already good for this year. It's not like we need new announcements, but there's definitely like little tidbits we kind of do need to know. In terms of the indie side, Pizza Tower would be a very cool one to get on Switch.
Yeah. I think they said that'd be a while yet, so I'm not quite sure if we'll get that yet. That feels like a next year thing.
Yeah, definitely. But other than that, I don't want to like put anything too outlandish out there. I don't want to say like they're ready to announce the next Zelda. Like, I don't think anything like that's going to happen. I think the highest possible candidate for a big game drop here might be Kid Icarus Uprising, because we know Bandai Namco were doing a Nintendo remaster. We don't know what it is. It could even be that Luigi's Mansion 2 port they announced last time. We don't know. But hopefully it's not. And hopefully it finally is time to get our full-on console version of Kid Icarus Uprising with gyro controls, with the online intact. Please.
I want it. I forgot all about that possibility. I want it. it'd be a perfect capper to the so either start it with that or end it with that, and I think people would be just go nuts, especially if it looks just as crisp as it does before. Whether it happens or not, that's a little tough. I honestly expect them to spend most of their time just giving little like updates. It's like, hey, remember this is coming out, or like, here's a little Mortal Kombat 1 section. Yeah, it's coming out on Switch too. Remember this?
Yeah.
And like, maybe to even further get into the fighting game aspect, King of Fighters 13 is getting rollback and is getting re-released with it's being called Global Match, and that is coming to the Switch. Fighting games are getting a bit of a renaissance right now. Don't want to leave the Switch out, so maybe take advantage of that. And hey, here's a gorgeous sprite-based game in 13. Check it out. I don't know.
That'd be amazing. Do you remember when they updated Super Mario Party with online like 3 years after it came out?
Yeah.
That was an odd precedent. they don't usually update games after that much time. I do wonder if it's possible for any like legacy Switch games to get rolled back. And the big one would be like Smash. But there's no team working on that game is the thing. I don't expect anything to come to Smash.
I don't think that'll happen.
No. I have expected 2 games I've been predicting on and off for a while. Mario and Sonic at Paris. I think there's still time to announce and release that game. And
that was even happening as far as Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, the Tokyo one was doomed, so it's time to get Paris in there without any proper issues. And the other one has slipped my mind. What was I gonna say?
Sega, please release, use Nintendo's technology, release Skies of Arcadia.
Oh, please, please, please. I'm sorry, I forgot the other game. It was going to be great, though. But Switch has been really good to most of Nintendo's core franchises. We've got Mario, we've got Zelda, we've got Metroid, we've got pretty much everything that we could want. Pokemon. But the only real gaps are like F-Zero, which I think GX is probably the most likely candidate for a game at this point. Wario Land could happen. Probably
Maybe.
not with Mario Wonder coming up and WarioWare coming up, but it would be done by a different team. And right now, good feel they're working on their Samurai game. But they could very well be doing a Nintendo project too. But otherwise, I don't really know what other gaps there really are. Like, there are like these niche games we could have. We could have a Golden Sun remake. We could have a brand new Golden Sun. But in terms of like the big boys, I don't know what we're still waiting for, really.
I mean, Kirby always has a new game coming, so who knows?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a little too early for another Kirby, unless it's a spin-off. But I'm gonna put my foot down and say no Kirby announcement at this one.
If there is, then Ant Dude always wins. You can't stop that man. he just got the stacker game, Star Stacker.
Yeah.
He's always feasting. We need to starve him every now and then.
I mean, he's Kirby. He's a Kirby fan. Of course, he's always eating well.
Yeah. But yeah, let's wrap it up there. That was our predictions for a direct that hasn't been announced, but it probably will happen. And if it does get announced, who knows? Maybe we'll even do another predictions with a different panel. Maybe Steve, Daniel, Brandon, Ash. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, they can come up with their own predictions. For now, we have the right ones. Let's be honest.
Of course. We've tried to stay somewhat grounded, but we'll see. We'll see what comes up. But thank you for sticking with us, everyone, and maybe we'll see you next week, either on Wednesday or Thursday, for this Nintendo Direct, if it does happen, which seems like it will. But thank you so much for watching, and please be sure to leave your predictions in the comments below. We will read every single one of them, and we'll say in our minds yes or no. That's what we'll do. And you can also help support us on patreon.com/GVGaming. With $5 a month, you can contribute to our work by asking for topics in GVGcast, or you can see our videos early, way before they go live. We had a video ready last Friday, I believe, that went live on Monday. So that was a nice weekend preview, and we do that quite often. So be sure to support us there if you can, but even if you can't, thank you for watching and supporting us. And we will see you next time, everyone. Bye.
Bye.